Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakamritam Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Kopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'd like to thank everyone for participating on time in today's Bhagavad Gita class. So we're doing verse number 8. This is 15:8. Chapter 15, Yoga of the Supreme Person, text number 8. So I don't know if somebody can put it on the screen. I don't know who's doing it. You can repeat, and I'll just do word for word until it's up on the screen. Shariram Yad Avapnoti Yatschapyukt Kramatishvara Grihitvaitani Samyati Yayor Vayur Gandan Ivashayat. So I don't know, does everyone have books? Maybe they can turn in their books.
I have a book.
So 15:8 in my book, but maybe a different book, it's page 722, but it's chapter 15, text 8.
601.
You can repeat. Shariram Yadavapnoti Yatschapyuk Kramatishvaraha
Utkramatishvara.
So we have the Yach and then Chap Yuk Yut actually.
Chapyukta. Yeah, Chapyutkramatishvara.
Yeah. Yatschapyukt Kramatishvaraha
Yachapyutkramatishvaraha
Grihitvaitani Samyati Vayurgandan Ivashayat Shariram Yad Avapnoti Yatschapyukt Kramatishvaraha Grihitvaitani Samyati Vayurgandan Ivashayat Shariram Yad Avapnoti Yatschapyukt Kramatishvaraha Grihitvaitani Samyati Vayurgandan Ivashayat
Shariram Yad Avapnoti Yatschapyutkramatishvaraha Grihitvaitani Samyati Vayurgandan Ivashayat
Vayorgandhasya. Anyone else want to chant?
Shariram yad apvapnoti
Shariram yad avapnoti
yachapi ukratam ishvaraha
yachap utkramatishvaraha
grihivitani samyasi
gृहीत्वैतानि संयाति
vayurgandhan ivashayat.
वायुर्गन्धान् इवाशयत्
Shariram yadavapnoti
शरीरं यदवाप्नोति
Yachapyutkramatishvaraha
यच्चाप्युत्क्रमतीश्वरः
Hitvaitan
Cows are just trying again for a second time. So give them 45 minutes and
संयाति
then everything's done. Yeah.
Gandho Vayurgandhani Vashayat
वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयत्
शरीरं यादवाप्नोति
शरीरं यदवाप्नोति
यच्चाप्युत्क्रमित्वश्क्रमिश्वरः
यच्चाप् उत्क्रमतीश्वरः
हित्वैतानि संयाति
गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति
वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयात्
वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयत्
Shariram yad avapnoti
शरीरं यत् अवाप्नोति
yachapi ukramatishvaraha
यच्चाप्युत्क्रमतीश्वरः
grihitvaitani samyati
गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति
vayurgandhan ivashayat.
वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयत्
Shariram,
Shariram,
the body.
body.
Yat,
Yeah.
as.
As.
Avapnoti,
Avapnoti.
gets.
Yet
Yat,
Yeah.
yet
as.
As.
Cha api,
cha
Sha'api.
api
also.
Also.
also
Utkramati,
utkramati
gives up.
gives up
Ishvaraha,
Vishranaha.
Varaha,
Lord of the body.
the Lord of the body.
Grihitva,
Grihitva,
taking.
taking.
Etani,
Etani,
all these.
all these.
Samyati,
Samyati,
goes away.
goes away.
Vayu,
Vayu,
the air.
the air.
Gandhan,
Gandham,
smells.
smells.
Iva,
Iva,
like.
like.
Ashayat,
Ashayat,
from their source.
From their
from
source.
Translation: the living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here, the living entity is described as Ishvara, the controller of his own body. If he likes, he can change his body to a higher grade. And if he likes, he can move to a lower class. Minute independence is there. The changes of the change his body undergoes depends upon him. At the time of death, the consciousness he has created will carry him on to the next type of body. If he has made his consciousness like that of a cat or dog, he is sure to change to a cat's or dog's body. And if he has fixed his consciousness on godly qualities, he will change into the form of a demigod. And if he is in Krishna consciousness, he will be transferred to Krishna Loka in the spiritual world and will associate with Krishna. It is a false claim that after the annihilation of this body, everything is finished. The individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and his present body and his present activities are the background of his next body. One gets a different body according to karma, and he has to quit this body in due course. It is stated here that the subtle body, which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. Read that sentence again. It is stated here that the subtle body, which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. This process of transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, or struggle for existence. Or Prabhupada says lots of times, hard struggle for existence. The translation again, the living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as air carries aromas. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nirasesa Sanyavadi Paschachati Satarane. I'm going to go over the purport just like one sentence at a time, so you don't really have to go and show it online. Here the living entity is described as Ishvara, the controller of his own body. Ishvara means controller. There's the Parameshvara, which is Krishna. He's the supreme controller. But everyone is an Ishvara to different degrees. We can control certain things. So we're considered an Ishvara here, in particular, the controller of his own body. You know, there's a saying, a Christian saying, I imagine sometimes when people do something wrong, they say that the devil made me do it. It's almost like they didn't plan on doing it, but somehow or other, you know, someone else did it. It wasn't me. Or even Arjuna says, you know, why does one act, you know, even sinfully, as if engaged by force? It's like forced to do it. And Krishna answers, it's lust only, born of contact with the material modes of passion, and later turns into wrath. So this, sometimes we may feel like we're forced to do something, but here you are the controller of your own body. In other words, I have this body, there's tendencies, okay, I have an itch, I can scratch it, or I don't have to scratch it. Or I'm hungry, I can eat, or I can wait. You know, so we can control our body to, at least to certain extents. Ultimately, we can't live eternally in this body. We can't have like a perfect body by doing every type of yoga, and then we can live forever and have a perfect diet and have a perfect alignment of the spine, and have all the chakras on the different bodies massaged so that you have a perfect body. It doesn't matter. It's going to die. The body is a temporary thing, no matter what you do to try to make it in a perfect situation. So we do have control over our own body. We don't have to do sinful things. For instance, we control our bodies, at least most devotees. We don't eat meat, fish, or eggs, take intoxication, have illicit sex, or gamble. At least those are the 4 basic principles that we should follow. And also chant Hare Krishna. So we chant Hare Krishna, we have to make ourselves do it. We make ourselves do it. When we're very advanced, we want to do it. We feel like we'd love to do it. But until we're at that platform, we have to force ourselves to do it. So in that sense, we're the controllers of this body. And we cannot, you know, we might see something that looks really good, but it may have eggs in it. So we don't take it because we can't offer it to Krishna. Krishna doesn't want eggs offered to him. He doesn't eat eggs. He tells us what he eats, and it's basically fruits, vegetables, grains, milk products. It's not meat, fish, or eggs. And as a devotee, we don't eat anything unless it's first offered to Krishna. So that's controlling our senses. That's controlling our body. So we are, the living entity is described as Ishvara. Living entity is the spirit soul, the controller of his own body. So it says, how do we control the body? By using our intelligence, and then we can control our mind, and through our mind we control our senses. And the soul is the one in charge. And you see, I don't know if it's in this Bhagavad Gita, but you've seen the picture of a chariot riding wild. Then there's a chariot driver and a passenger, and each of the horses, there's 5 horses. In front, there's a picture of a nose, an ear, a mouth, etc. Our 5 senses. And basically, the reins is considered the mind. So the driver is the intelligence. So the intelligence is letting loose on the reins, and the mind is not controlling the senses, and the senses are going anywhere and everywhere that they desire to go. So, I mean, you might say the senses don't have desires, but because of our conditioning, we condition our senses to be attracted to certain things and to be repulsed by other things. So the senses, in one sense, you might say that they have their own mind. They don't have their own mind because we programmed them for so long that if I see this, go for it. So now we want to stop that. And the passenger on the chariot is the soul. So the soul, not using the intelligence, not controlling the mind, letting the senses wander anywhere and everywhere, has to go along for the ride. So what we have to do is we have to use our intelligence, which is the driver of the chariot, has to control the reins of the chariot, which is the mind, and the horses are the senses, and it controls the horses. So we ultimately have the choice at every moment to surrender to Krishna or to surrender to Maya. If we let our senses go and we follow the dictates of our senses, we're surrendering to Maya. So, I'll read that sentence again. Here the living entity is described as Ishvara, the controller of his own body. If he likes, he can change his body to a higher grade. And if he likes, he can move to a lower class. Okay, I like to move to a higher class. Or ultimately, I like to go back to Krishna. But the likes and dislikes are, you have to show Krishna that you want something. Man proposes, God disposes. If I really like to go back to Godhead, then I would really surrender to Krishna at every moment, not just, here and there once in a while, but all the time. Every time I have that choice, we have the choice at every moment, but we may not be conscious of it at every moment. But every time I'm conscious of it, I should choose Krishna and not choose Maya. And if we do that, then we're showing Krishna that that's what we actually desire. Otherwise, we're not showing Krishna that's what we desire. We're saying I desire it, but I'm not doing anything to get it. It means I don't really desire it. If I want something, I have to show Krishna by my actions that that's what I want. So that's how we can decide on what we like, where we want. If he likes, he can change his body to a higher grade. And if he likes, he can move to a lower class. So we have that choice by our actions, our desire. Our desire and our actions have to be in accord. If I really want something, then I have to act in such a way, show Krishna I want it, and then we'll get it. So in that sense, we are controllers. Minute independence is there. That's how much independence you have. What you want to do. What you desire, you have to act in that way. Then the results are up to Krishna. If I desire to be a millionaire and I work really hard, eventually I'll be a millionaire. Maybe not even in this lifetime. Sometimes you may have to keep a desire for even more than one lifetime if you don't have the karma to obtain it. Anyway, the change his body undergoes depends upon him. So we have this, whatever body we have right now, we know that that's our body. And we should also know that we're going to get another body. And that depends on me. What is my next body? And it says, at the time of death, the consciousness he has created will carry him on to the next type of body. So by acting in such a way, by being attracted to certain things, this is determining what type of body I'm going to get in my next life. So here, at the time of death, the consciousness, I have a certain kind of consciousness he's created, will carry him on to the next type of body, the next type, let me skip some, type of body. If he has made his consciousness like that of a cat or dog. So how do you make a consciousness like that of a cat or dog? It's not that you go around barking or meowing and therefore you're a cat. It's what does a cat do? What does a dog do? You know, they just want certain things, you know. You see two dogs, you have a dog eat from his bowl and then he walks away, but some other dog comes and eats from his bowl, he runs back, starts barking and gets upset, you know. So we don't let anybody, we don't share. I mean, there's certain things, how you behave in this life is going to determine what kind of body you get in your next life. And speaking of dogs, Prabhupada mentions dog here. I'm going to get into this a little bit later. But there is at a school, a college, university in America, Prabhupada's talking about how you can become a cat or a dog in your next life. And one of the students says, what's wrong with being a dog? And Prabhupada says, you have my blessings. So he doesn't see anything wrong with being a dog. At the time of death, the consciousness he has created will carry him on to the next type of body. If he has made his consciousness like that of a cat or dog, he is sure to change to a cat's or dog's body. And if he has fixed his consciousness on godly qualities, he will change into the form of a demigod. And this is the transcendental one. If he is in Krishna consciousness, he will be transferred to Krishna Loka in the spiritual world and will associate with Krishna, personally associate with Krishna. And no more birth, disease, old age, and death. Eternity, bliss, and knowledge. If you can become Krishna conscious, if that's what you can change your consciousness in this life to whatever you like. That of a cat or dog, that of a demigod, or that of a devotee of Krishna, and go back to the spiritual world and be with Krishna. And this choice is ours, how we want to make our consciousness. You know, what are we interested in? You know, if we want praise, if we want to look good, I mean, what are we interested in? It's not just gross things, it's subtle things too. You know, profit, adoration, distinction. Prabhupada said these three things, profit, adoration, and distinction, is subtle sex life. I mean, we know gross sex life, we shouldn't indulge, shouldn't have illicit sex, but this is subtle sex life, profit, adoration, distinction. I want people who admire me. I want to be a little different than everybody else. I have to get a different kurta, somehow get a little different look. You know, these things we should be careful. We should just do whatever Krishna wants. Doesn't matter. It is a false claim that after the annihilation of this body, everything is finished. Prabhupada gave at least one talk that I heard where he said how society is so degraded nowadays that, you know, in America at the university, he says the student doesn't see anything wrong with becoming a dog. And in Russia, and Prabhupada met with this big professor who teaches about Indian philosophy. And then this professor told Prabhupada, Swamiji, there is no God. He said the professors don't believe in God. The students don't care if they become a dog. This is the society that we live in. It's like, can you imagine somebody from Vaikuntha coming down and speaking to the educated people? And that's how they're thinking. How am I going to help these people? These are how people are thinking. They don't see anything wrong with being a dog. A dog, I mean, if they've seen a dog in India, they may have some more doubts about how being a dog is so nice. But in America, dogs, they don't have to work. They just stay home. They just they're just happy to see their master. They go out for a walk. They have no responsibility, and they got a perfect house. Many dogs sleep in the beds with their masters in America. And this is, so what's wrong with being a dog? They don't see it. But they don't see the bad things. I mean, of course, in America, a dog has fleas. They take care of the fleas. They get rid of them. So in America, he should have added that.
There's even a saying in English, "Oh, for a dog's life," or something.
Yeah. But the student should have said, "What's wrong with being a dog in America?" Because in China, you ain't gonna live long. In India, now people in India have dogs. It's like a fashion. But years ago, even when I went in the beginning, people didn't have dogs. The dogs are considered very, very low class. I know in Vrindavan, they told me if the dog comes out, you just bend down and like reach to the ground like you're picking up a rock. You don't have to pick it up and they run away because they know so many people pick up rocks and throw it at them. They don't have a very nice life. They say a dog's life, in a sense. They say that. I mean, they say both ways. But it's not nice being a dog. And the stupid professor telling the self-realized soul that there is no God. I'm going to tell you, Swamiji, there is no God. And then the religious people, the cardinal in Paris, this is like one of the next to the Pope. I think there's the Pope and then there's cardinals. And then there's bishops, or bishops and cardinals. I don't know which one it was, but it was one of those. Telling him about thou shalt not kill. And he couldn't get it. And it was a horrible talk. I don't know how many people here have seen that video of Prabhupada talking to that cardinal. I think it was a cardinal.
I think it is a cardinal.
Yeah.
It's also in the journey of self-discovery, I think, the conversation.
I know, but reading it and
No, science of self-realization. Yeah.
When you see it, you see how horrible this guy is. I think it's fine to eat meat. There's nothing wrong with that. We just do not murder. That's all. God lets us eat meat. That's all Prabhupada was trying to tell him. A sub-religious principle. Don't eat meat. Thou shalt not kill. And this one guy was so, and if you look in there, Prabhupada's leg is like going up and down, just so agitated. This idiot speaking. And after this great cardinal died in the arms of a prostitute. And I'm sure Krishna made those arrangements just to disgrace him because of what he did with Prabhupada. I'm sure he was doing it anyway, but he probably would have died a different way. But he did. I even looked it up because I heard devotees say it, and then I looked it up, and it was true. So, be honest. This guy is a leader of religion, and he's just a cheater. Why should he at least be honest? Except, yes, we shouldn't kill. It's a simple thing. I've heard other devotees saying how, Jesus has taught us compassion for all living entities. We should be compassionate towards them. So compassionate doesn't mean you kill them and eat them. But anyway, so this is the society in which Srila Prabhupada had to try to make people Krishna conscious, so that some people within this world can go back home, back to Godhead. And not just so the people he met, the people he initiated, but perpetually making this movement for at least 10,000 years, so that so many different souls can go back home, back to Godhead. And he's dealing with students and professors and religionists who are all way, way off and won't listen, are so puffed up and proud they won't listen. They won't be humble enough to listen to the truth. I mean, I remember nobody was able to defeat me, and when I was this great impersonalist. And then I met a devotee, and in like 2 sentences, he defeated me. And I said, that's right, you're right. Because at least I had some humility. I wasn't just so puffed up that I'm right and everyone else is wrong. Well, I'm right and everyone else who doesn't agree with me is wrong. Those who agree with me, they're right. But so he's talking to these people, and they're just so proud, so puffed up. Krishna doesn't like his devotees also becoming puffed up. He makes them humble when they do become puffed up. Brahma got puffed up. Who's this little talkative? No, that was Indra said talkative boy. But Brahma wanted to know who this little boy is, so he played a trick on him, and for a moment took all his cows and calves and put them in a cave. And then went back a moment later, and they were all still there. And he's wondering, I thought I put them in a cave. What's going on? And then he sees they're all 4-handed forms of Vishnu. And then Brahma says, well, someone else may say that they understand you, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't understand you at all. He just seen his mystic powers is greater than Brahma's powers. And Brahma has got he's pretty powerful. He created the whole universe. He can't create anything. Everything is already, what can we create? He created this whole planet and all the planets, everything in the universe. He's got such great intelligence. And yet he can't imagine, can't understand how powerful Krishna is. And of course, Indra tried to kill Krishna along with the residents of his friends, his family, and also all the calves and cows. And then he, because he got puffed up, thinking he's supreme. So Indra was puffed up, and therefore Krishna decided, I have to make my devotees humble. So he does things to make his devotees humble. In this case, with Indra, he just lifted Govardhan Hill, held it with the pinky of his left hand for 7 days while Indra is trying to kill them with torrents of rain. No rain came under the hill. It was all Krishna. They had a dehumidifier under the hill. It got rid of all the moisture. Because they didn't need a dehumidifier. They had Krishna. Krishna can do anything he wants. And then finally, Indra became humble and regretful. So Krishna doesn't want his devotees becoming proud and puffed up. And devotees become proud over different things. I'm good at this, especially when you're really good at something, when you're really good at it, and especially when everybody's telling you how great you are. It's easy to become proud. Being a guru in ISKCON, if you just associate with your disciples, it's not a good idea, because then everybody's saying how wonderful and great you are. You start to think that it's true. So you associate with some God brothers who can, you can feel equal. But anyway, we have to not become proud. So let's see, Krishna Loka. Okay. It is a false claim that after the annihilation of this body, everything is finished. That's Professor Petrowski or something like that, his name was. The individual soul is transmigrated. What?
Kotowski, Kotovsky.
K.O.? Okay. Anyway, I don't think he's alive anymore.
Yeah, no.
And I don't think he's went back home to Godhead or the heavenly planets.
Well, hopefully association with Prabhupada gave him some benefit.
I know, but he's instructing Prabhupada that Swamiji, there is no God. It's like he's such a fool. I mean, I'm thinking he may not have to suffer so much because he's a sincere fool.
Yeah.
Anyway, the individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and his present body and present activities are the background of his next body. So there it is. This is why now we have to do something. Prabhupada says, you gave millions of lives to Krishna. I mean, to Maya. Just give this one life to Krishna. That's all. So now in this body, we can change everything. We can go back home, back to Godhead. And it's so relatively easy. It's difficult when we're doing it, but if you look at it analytically, what is hard about it? Doing certain things, nothing strenuous, nothing so hard that you have to do. Nobody's telling you to lift so much weight or 500 pounds over your head or some other ridiculous thing. No, chant Hare Krishna. Not hard at all. Anybody can do it. And don't do other things. Illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, meat eating. That's it. And do some service. When you have an opportunity, do service. Or support the temple and devotees who are doing service. So the individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and his present body and present activities are the background of his next body. One gets a different body according to karma, and he has to quit this body in due course. So we have to quit this body. Some people may think they're going to live eternally, and they may think they're going to live eternally because they actually do live eternally, but not in this body. They have some movies and books about people who don't die. They live forever. And their relatives, their wives grow old, their children grow old, everything goes old, but they don't grow old. I mean, that would be a pretty horrible situation if that happens, unless you're completely selfish and don't care about anybody else. But you can't even do that even if you wanted to. You're going to grow old and you're going to die. Or you're going to die before you grow old, but you're going to die. Nobody lives forever in this body. One gets a different body according to karma, and that's because of how we act, how we behave. That's how we create karma. And then he has to quit the body in due course. It is stated here that the subtle body, which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. So the subtle body, that's your mind, intelligence, and false ego. So when you die, you're forced to leave this gross body, but your subtle body takes you to another gross body, according to our consciousness. A cat, a dog, an elephant, a cow. Of course, if you're a cow and you're on an ISKCON farm, then you're pretty fortunate, and all your milk is going to Krishna. But most cows aren't in that situation. So whatever, or get a human birth, or demigod birth, or a birth back in the spiritual world with Krishna. Our mind, so we can transform our mind into a spiritual mind by always thinking of Krishna. Carries consent, develops another body in the next life. This process of transmigrating, sometimes they say reincarnation. Generally, reincarnation means I'm this person now. In my next life, I'm a king. In the next life, I'm a farmer. In the next life, but it's always human. That's reincarnation, is more like that. But transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, or struggle for existence. But this transmigrating means I don't have to get a human body. I can get an insect body. I can get an animal body. I can get a fish's body. And it depends on what I like to do. Like, for instance, if I'm a scuba diver and I spend a lot of time under the water, and I don't know what you do under the water too much. I mean, if you're looking for treasures, that's nice. That sounds like fun. But I think 99.999% of the time you're not going to find anything. But you're basically like living underwater. Why have to come back up for air? Your next life, you can get a body of a fish. You could swim all over the place. Of course, the problem is you're going to have a bigger fish trying to eat you. It's not nice anywhere in this world. Or if you're into, they have these people who, I don't know what they call it, but they jump off like of a mountain and they glide. They got some kind of a uniform and they kind of glide. And they glide, and it looks really scary and stupid, like because they go really fast and they pass up rocks. They could smash into a rock. The next life you could be a bird, and you can fly and glide and enjoy life until a bigger bird comes after you. We feed birds here, and we have it's either a falcon or a hawk. I don't know the difference. But he comes every once in a while, and he hangs around until maybe not until, but he waits for birds and he kills a bird and he eats a bird. This is the dog life, So the material world is a horrible place, and we can transmigrate to any type of body according to our consciousness. Other examples, if you like to sleep all the time, you can take birth as a bear. You can sleep for 6 months out of the year. If you like standing naked, showing everyone your naked body, you can take birth as a tree and stand naked for 100 years. It depends on what you're into. You'll get a body to fulfill that desire that you have. So, of course, if you're into Krishna and you're into serving Krishna, you get a spiritual body. And that's our goal. So I'm going to leave time for any questions or comments. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Go ahead.
Time, so we should be able to finish them all.
Well, as you were saying about the...
I can't hear you. I don't know if any others can.
Are you able to hear me? Oh, something going on with my audio devices. I don't know what's happening.
It's very low.
Let me see if I can fix it. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so when you were talking about, see, I've forgotten now that I got distracted. I'm going to not talk because I was distracted by the computer. If I think of it, I'll let you know.
Who is talking?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I have prayer sounds that I play. I just keep them near me because they make me feel good.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, whenever someone else have a question or comment?
Yeah, I just have a comment and a question. So I just want to make the comment when that person said, what's wrong with being a dog? That was in London. I think Ranchor Das writes the books. Jiva loaned me the book When the Sun Shines or something. And when Prabhupada said, you have my blessing, the entire audience gasped. the devotees, because they knew that it would be true. It would come true. They were like shocked, that this person actually wanted to be a dog when everyone else, was trying to get out of this material world.
Well, no, not everyone else is. Everyone else, the devotees are.
Yeah, the devotees. Yeah, majority were devotees. Yeah, the audience. But yeah, there were others too. You're right. But there was like a gasp among the devotees. Did he really ask for that? And Srila Prabhupada blessed him. There
was a devotee once who. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. Let's have any more comments or questions first.
My question was, you said anyone who wants to be naked becomes a tree. There are a lot more trees than human beings. So there's that many people who wanted to be naked. So that was my second question. My question.
Well, it's really hard to say. It may not even be all from people from this planet. Maybe it is other planets. People like to walk around naked too, and they take birth as a tree on this planet. I mean, it's just one universe. I don't even know if you stay just within this universe I think you do, but I'm not 100% sure. If you take birth again, why not? Why can't you go to another universe? But I think you take birth on this universe. But then everywhere in this universe, there's so many planets. You can definitely go to any planet. So we don't know what's going on all these different planets. But so I don't know. There's a planet of the trees.
And not all the trees might be coming from that particular karma, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that I think it's.
I would think if they all came from that, there wouldn't be that many trees.
Right. So there might be other things that they come from also.
Well, they work their way up to a tree.
Yeah, they might have worked.
Maybe a fish. Fish are lower than trees.
Right. Okay, I think I have my answer, sort of.
What was the question?
The question was, you said if people are naked, they become trees. Why are there so many trees? Did that many people want to be naked?
Oh, okay, no. There's 8,400,000 species, and there are a lot of species, like the fish, which are lower than trees. So you become a fish, and then eventually you'll become a tree. You work your way up to these species till you come to the human form, and then you go anywhere you want to go according to your consciousness, like we just read today.
Mm-hmm.
Shiva, if you're talking, you got to talk louder. What about the whale? Shiva's saying the whale is different. The whale is good. We say the whale is a mammal according to. There's different ways of dividing up all these different animal species. And the Vedic way of doing it, not just species, even grains, like we're not supposed to have beans or peas or legumes, really on Ekadasi. But yet peanuts, you can have peanuts. So we can have peanuts, and that's a legume. So how can we have peanuts on Ekadasi? Because the way the Vedic system divides things up is not the same way that the scientists today divide things up. Most of them are similar, but there are some differences. The first thing you learn in biology, at least what I remember from high school biology, was there's the vertebrates and the invertebrates. So that's one way of dividing things up. Vedic may divide it up a totally different way. So I don't know if a whale is considered a fish or considered a mammal, and it's a little above the fish or a lot above the fish. I don't know. But I don't want to be a whale either, even if it is above a fish.
Let's hope so.
What?
I said, let's hope so. None of us want to be a whale.
Yeah, although it seems like it might be cool to be a big whale. Nobody bothers you. What fish are going to bother you if you're big? If you make it from a baby, because of the baby, they do bother them. But if you make it and you become a big whale and just swimming around and you go up to Maine and show all the people on the boats what you look like.
I think you and I talked one time that devotees don't even want to be Brahma. Why would they want to be a whale?
Right.
Maybe I have to say that I definitely know that I have so much more to learn, but from my limited knowledge, because I am not God, so I have limited knowledge, not being God. And I'm also around a lot of advanced devotees, so I'm not pretending to know things. But what I am saying is I do feel that there is something sacred in everything that's alive. And I do feel that if there is some reason for a person to reincarnate as something, it is designed for their evolution. So it's not ideal, and it'd be great if we could skip that which is, I'm certain, what the purpose of worship, not the purpose is to serve Krishna, but as a byproduct, you gain this progress, not having to come back into this body. But I do feel that every life is in that form for its education. And I think it's divinely beautiful. And it's made me look at everything and see it as awesome. Not like awesome, bro, but like awe, to be in awe. Like awestruck by how many people are learning. Because I could be horribly ignorant, but if I'm trying, these folks are kind of forced to learn because they're in these horrible situations. But it's inspiring to see them learning in that position.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I'd have to say a lot of what you said I couldn't hear, and I don't know if everyone else can hear, but I couldn't. Does anyone else have a problem with hearing what she said?
I couldn't hear too well.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, so I heard. I mean, what I heard was nice, but I couldn't hear everything. I just heard bits and pieces. But you were kind of going, and I didn't want to stop you and saying I couldn't hear. I was thinking maybe everyone else could hear, and maybe it's just me.
Did you say that there's a purpose to being to everything in the world?
Every single thing, I do feel certain there is a purpose for it being where it is. It's for its education. So if something is learning, it's divinely inspiring, because even though it's a horrible situation to be in, they're forced to learn. And it's like, if I am someone who is a toddler, right, and I can't even walk, well, it's inspiring to see the toddler get up off the ground and walk a little bit. It actually is like awesome. But it's ideal to not have to be a toddler and just be with Krishna and serve him, obviously. But it is still inspiring. And when I look outside and see all of the life, I feel amazed at how much work is being done. Evolution. It's inspiring to me. Was that audible?
Yes.
Thank you for letting me know that you couldn't hear me earlier so that I could talk louder.
That I heard loud and clear. The best. Yes, you can't be so humble on this Zoom conference. You got to talk louder. Okay, we got a few minutes. Any other comments or questions?
I had a quick question, Prabhuji.
I can't hear that person, whoever said that.
This is Ganpati Govindas. Can you hear me?
Is it something wrong with, does anyone else, you hear someone speaking, anyone?
I couldn't hear who that was.
I was having a hard time hearing. It was a man that I heard, but I couldn't hear what he was saying.
You're very
I'm trying to
soft.
talk loudly.
Okay. Any better now?
Yeah, a little better.
Ganapati Govind?
Yes, Prabhuji. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but very softly, but I can hear you and I recognize your voice.
Okay,
So
quick question.
Say something, say it loud.
Okay, so the question is, when this verse says that the mind carries the conception of life from one body to another, just as the air carries the aroma. So some people say that, this world does not exist. It is all in your mind. So if this world doesn't exist, then why should I bother? It is all in our mind. So we should just go with it, that kind of a philosophy they have. So how to answer those kind of questions?
It's not all in your mind. This world does exist. It's temporary, but it does exist. Why would you say it doesn't exist? You're an idiot. Why do you go to school? Why do you work? Why do you do anything? It doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist and you know it doesn't exist, why would you be in it doing things? Doing things you don't want to do. Why are you going to work? Why are you getting sick? It doesn't exist. You're not sick. I don't even understand that. How anybody can say it doesn't exist? It's in your mind. If it's in your mind, it's like, wow, you really got a great imagination. It doesn't exist. It does exist.
So sometimes they say that you think you're experiencing everything when you're not. Impersonal.
I mean, yeah, I know it's impersonal, but it does exist. And are we supposed to prove to them it does exist? It's like you can't prove anything. If I don't want to accept it, there's nothing you can do to prove anything to me. I can say, yes, it's all a dream. That's it. And then someone can say, well, if I punch in the face, and then I can say, well, I sometimes have bad dreams. You know, I can just be a total rascal and just deny anything exists, and it's just all in my imagination. But why would I make my life so miserable if it's all in my imagination? And they'll say, well, my life's not miserable. It is miserable. You get sick. Is there anybody you ever loved who died? What kind of imagination is, if it's all in your imagination, then why would you do that? Why would you make this person die? Oh, so I can feel sorrow. Why would I want to feel sorrow? I'd rather feel happiness. It doesn't make any sense. It is real. And everyone who's going through this, I would think you point out to them how much they're suffering. Birth, disease, old age, and death. You know, they may not think they're going to die because it's all in their mind, but disease, they're getting disease. Well, that's in my mind. If it's in your mind, why? Who's controlling your mind? Who's giving you this disease?
But don't we also say that, you know, you're suffering because you're identifying with your body and mind? You are really not suffering?
Right. But the body is going through this disease. And if you're identifying with this body, you're going to suffer. And if you're not identifying with this body, what are you identifying with? And even if you identify with something else, it doesn't mean this body is false. It doesn't exist. It's just in your mind. The body is not just in your mind. You're not just making this up. Why would I make up a body like this? You know, I'm going to make up a nice body.
So you're saying if you're not suffering the disease of conditioning, then you recognize that your body is there for serving Krishna.
Right.
But otherwise, if you're suffering the disease of conditioning, you're suffering.
And if you're an impersonalist, okay?
Identify.
I identify with Brahman. I'm just Brahman. But why do I do anything in this world? Why would I even eat? If I was an impersonalist, knowing this body doesn't exist, why would I eat? Because I'm hungry. How am I hungry if this body doesn't exist? I mean, just stuff, people can say anything, and you can't prove it. You can show them how foolish it is, but they won't accept it.
I would say that if I have a body, right, and a devotional service can be very simple. If my body becomes destroyed to a point where I can't use it to actually do physical world activities for him,
if your body becomes destroyed, what?
Sorry, I was saying if somehow my body became too ill to actually do physical world activities for Krishna, then I would be able to do devotional service in my mind and in my voice. So the body is useful because it allows you to do a lot of different physical world things to reach a lot of different souls. But I can do these kinds of services internally if I can't even move. And this is the mercy of Krishna, is that I could be completely immobilized and I always have access to serving him. I would like to be able to serve him in a way that affects the material world the most possible. But if I can't, there's the internal.
Yeah, but that's not what the question was. That everything you said is true, but it's not answering the question of people who say that this world doesn't exist. The world does exist, and I think that for me a logical thing is, why are you doing these things with your body if this world doesn't exist? Why are you talking if this world doesn't exist? And who are you talking to? If it's just all you, and if it's just all your imagination, and then you could get into if it's just all you, that means that I am you. And if I'm you, why don't you give me all your money? Because you still have it. But this world is false, so give it all to me. There's so many things, it's just not a practical philosophy. Like Prabhupada said to an MIT student, grabbed him by the collar and said, why don't you wear a cotton swab instead of a cotton shirt if it's all one?
Well, I would say that the service in this material world is the real parts, and the things that aren't done to eventually get to service or to actually do service would be the illusionary, unreal parts. So the only real parts would be the service in the material world that makes it actual.
The world exists, and you can use the world to do service, or you can use the world to try to enjoy the senses of this body. It does exist. It's not that for only the devotees the world exists. It exists for everyone. And we don't say it's false. It's real, but it's temporary. It's there and it's gone, whereas the soul is eternal.
So I want to...
Temporary.
So Ganapati Govind, when they say that it's all in the mind, how do they explain their existence?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the question. So basically, they say that because you are illusioned, that's why you are, in illusion, that Maya concept.
Yeah, I know. I've heard it a million times, yeah.
Okay, so are they an illusion?
We all are in illusion.
They're an illusion too.
Right. They are also an illusion.
So how can somebody in illusion tell you what reality is?
Exactly. That's right.
Anyway, people are just too stupid.
Well, they say if they meditate, they can get themselves out of illusion.
Yeah, Krishna didn't have to meditate to get out of illusion. He's a little baby, and he killed Putana, the demon who tried to kill him, as a baby, not even walking, crawling, maybe not even crawling, but sucking his mother's breast milk, sucking this demon's breast milk, which had poison on it, sucking out the milk, sucking out her life air. And then she assumed a real form. She assumed a nice, beautiful form so she can feed this baby, Krishna, her poison on her breast. But she wound up dying. Now, Krishna never forgets that he's God. God doesn't forget he's God. What kind of God is it? Oh, I forgot. Does he have Alzheimer's? We forget. We're conditioned souls. We still forget.
No, but they still say that we separated from God as a smaller particle of God.
I don't know if you say that. The ones I've met, they are God. We're all God. Everything.
No, the ones I've met, they say they can become part of God and then become one with God.
How can you become part of God? You either are part of God or you're not part of God.
They feel they are separated particles now, but when they meditate and get out of their illusion, then they recognize they somehow merge with God again.
Or merge with God.
Yeah, merge with God.
I don't know if they think that or they just become Brahman. There's some...
Right. For them, ultimate is Brahman. To them, God is ultimate in God is Brahman. There's nothing higher than that.
Right. But once you become Brahman, it's like I'm Brahman. I'm not just like a little tiny...
Right. I'm Brahman.
Parcel of Brahman.
Exactly. You're not a particle
of God.
Yeah.
I become God.
Yeah, they become God, or they become Brahman as a whole.
I know. So how is it that God forgets he's God? Now, you're saying he's a part and parcel of God, or a little part of God, but then he becomes the whole thing. Makes no sense. Logically, it doesn't make sense. I mean, obviously, it says Maya Pratigyana, like their knowledge is stolen by illusion. They think they really got it. And Krishna is just fooling them and letting them think this. Anyway, Ganapati Govind, you should have asked your question earlier. It's not a quick answer.
No, but I got the answer, Prabhuji. I think that was a nice explanation. Yeah, thank you.
You let me know how it works.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu.
Okay, let's offer obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees, Lord. Hare Krishna, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you very much.
Hare Bol.